and you're getting way too close to a bunch of clowns with a bunch of weapons that are going to mess you up.
Overcharge the ion accelerator. It's time to forge the narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
Evening, everybody.
Brett Powell and Tanya Gates.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Sorry we missed last week. Several of us were at Adepticon. Basically like a whole week activity at this point.
Man, it was. I tell you what, that's my first time going. It was definitely a marathon of activity.
Really? Your first time?
That was my first time. Yeah. It was awesome. It was a great time. I look forward to going again, but I definitely, I've been to conventions and I've been to other events. I've been, Gen Con is another convention-like event, but some of the stuff that was to Adepticon that just completely new to, it was a great experience, and I'm absolutely going to do everything I can to make sure I go again. And talking to the team and getting to meet people, and I having not ever been to that event, there's just so many people that were tied into Adepticon that I haven't had that opportunity to engage with before. So it was really awesome. It was really great. And of course, getting to see you guys and everyone else. And Tanya, maybe next time we can all get there together.
Maybe.
I know.
It's really hard to travel as a woman who doesn't really have, somebody to share a room with, or
Sure.
like safe people to sort of rely on. So, sad panda, but I do enjoy hearing about all the fun things you guys get up to.
Well, I hope those are things that can change for you in the future, and we can find a way and a means to get you to some of these things.
Thank you.
We at least need to get the whole crew together for one stupid weekend like this year.
And it would be a stupid weekend.
Absolutely. It would be
Adam, your first time there also.
Yeah, my first Adepticon. I played in the singles. Ended up playing in the teams. I hadn't intended to. So yeah, I ended up playing a lot of 40k, and I loved the hell out of it. The format for the teams event was, I knew what I was getting into when my team asked me to play over their team. I wasn't signed up to, but then I read the first mission. I was like, oh, I've gone into the DeLorean and stepped back into 2004.
There were
and
some
I was like,
nostalgic
this is
elements.
nice.
Yeah.
It felt good. I wasn't against it. I mean, some of it felt a bit wonky. I didn't hate it though. I didn't hate playing like what felt like a 5th edition mission.
The team dynamic, especially the team tournaments, its own animal. You guys, know I love it. You've been listening to the show, I love it. It's such a great tournament, and I don't mind if this is, one of the things that we talk about so often is like the tournament organizers, kind of do their own thing if they want to, and certainly entitled to do it. But one of the cool things about the team tournament is you're sharing in those experiences, with some buddies, and so you're kind of trying to overcome any challenges or any unfamiliarity or maybe awkwardness in how your list attacks some of those things together, and it's just a fun experience.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think to it, we've talked about comp formats before and everything, and adjusted mission sets and everything, and I think it has all that. That was something. If someone told you that you could only take X amount of units and whatnot, and that you kind of play into these themes and your how it's paint judged and everything like that, like there's I would say legitimately there is a comprehensive approach to how you go into Adepticon as an event, and the fact that it has the tradition of doing that, as because I had the pleasure of hanging out with some of my older friends that have been going to Adepticon quite frequently, and then listening to like you, Paul, talk about it before, and others. There is a tradition to this, and so trying to play into that and learn the tradition and get on board with it and figure it all out. There was still some discovery learning for us with the as I played on the Army team. It was amazing. It was awesome. But there was a lot to kind of wrap my head around, so that next time, if we're able to coordinate everything, I'm really looking forward to how I can continue to improve my approach to going and doing it. And it is very much specifically an Adepticon thing, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's cool that it's kind of got its own thing going on.
Yeah, before we get too deep in this show, I want to mention that in the middle of this show, I'm going to have a community spotlight segment from local organizers in my area or southeast area to talk about what some of the efforts that they're doing to assist a thriving scene, build a scene, tournaments and conventions and stuff that they're organizing. So that's what you're going to hear in the middle of the show. And then, of course, we'll come back with us. But I want to let folks know that that's coming before we got too deep into this conversation. We kind of jump right into it. All those stuff is so exciting, kind of hard not to.
There's a lot to be said for competitive and organized play becoming quite standardized due to, well, GW firstly putting out a legitimate and really well done GT packet for us to all kind of follow over and adhere to. But there is something to be said for variety. I used to, in Australia, you'd have 3 different kinds of style of tournament that you would go to, and almost every year. The vast majority was I suppose it'd be the WTC style now, it'd be the World Team Tournament style. You'd have the ITC and then tournament style, and then you'd have out of the rulebook style. That was pretty much what we played in Australia all the way through 6th and 7th, and pretty much all of 8th as well. But now it's almost like the whole world's playing the same thing, and as beautiful as that is, there is something to be said for variety, and I do like having to think differently and work in different gears or different mindsets depending on what parameters I have.
Hey, as an unplanned setup, I want to mention the Tempest of War mission pack. So
definitely didn't set that up. No.
If people are looking for a difference of play, I suggest maybe checking it out.
Have you cracked those open? Have you had a look at them?
Yes, it's a different way of going about doing things. So I mean, it's more than just different. It's not like what was the card draw mission mechanic?
Maelstrom.
Yeah, it's not. It's different animals. So I don't want to necessarily go too deep in the mission theory, but I'd like to. People that I know people realize this, but like there are multiple supported ways of playing Warhammer 40,000, and there's still room to play however you want. So it's nice to know there's alternatives out there, even organized alternatives like Adepticon.
What's what did you guys play at your first event? So the first events everyone's went to, what was the mission packet? What was the mission structure?
Oh, my tournament organizers, they you could get the RTT pack from Games Workshop, and you would purchase it at like different levels, and one of the levels would come, some would come with like trophies or whatever, but it would come with I want to say like 8 to 10 missions that you could choose from.
Yep.
One of them was always Unplanned Assault. One of the ones that was chosen locally was always Unplanned Assault.
Sounds chaotic.
Yeah, like you would know you had roll randomly for what your like mission primary wasn't the primary, just what your mission was, and you rolled it like third turn.
The first tournament that I went to was in 8th, and it was the old ITC format. So I guess at the end of 8th, that's pretty much all that I played in preparation for that.
Big segue. What's the AOS mission structure like? That's not something I've really touched base with. I remember it would have been second Ed Sigma. They started to have like properly organized mission structures, like with the objective holding and a bunch of other bits and pieces. I've got no idea what third Ed missions are for Age of Sigma. I've got actually no idea.
Well, you can go and tune in to some streamed content on the Warhammer TV Twitch channel.
What fine gentlemen were producing such content?
You can probably tell in my voice that I talked a lot over the weekend. And I had the pleasure of streaming some of the two of the games from the Age of Sigmar team tournament with Mr. Eddie Eccles from the Warhammer community team. It was fun. With Age of Sigmar, you pick a grand strategy, and then you have battle tactics, and then there's a mission. So there's objectives, and the objectives are actually different. They don't radiate from a token. They are basically fixed points on the map, and you're radiated from that fixed point in the center.
Yeah.
With contesting and controlling being slightly different. But then over the course of the game, you pick whatever your battle tactic for that round is, and you can choose from a series of them, and you choose a different one each round, and you cannot go back and choose the same one twice. So you score fewer points, but it's more there's a little bit more of a gamble in some of them. Now, some of them, I think are fairly easy to score, but if you they also kind of come with a slight drawback. Like, so for instance, you have to put 3 your beast, your monsters, your characters, they all have to run and then be close to each other. So of course you're telegraphing to your enemy what you're doing, kind of thing. But it's neat how they do it. They definitely approach it differently than Warhammer 40,000, but I like it. Kind of gives you a different play experience.
I kind of like it because in some missions you can only hold objectives with like your leader units, your heroes.
Yep.
In some other missions, battle line units actually become the equivalent of objective secured, but that's not something that exists in all missions. So it's I like it. I like that each mission is like completely different from the last, and I like the agency and flexibility of being able to choose your battle tactic every round.
It sounds quite a bit like a secondary, like, picking your secondaries, but a completely different function.
It's situational. You really can, you're not locked into it. If you feel like something is more, it's the opportunity is there for you, then that's what you pick. With the gamble being risk, if you miss it, you lose those points. You have to go, pick something else the next round.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
I actually, so I'm transitioning from coaching for 40k into coaching through for AOS. And apparently picking your battle tactics is like one of the hardest parts of the game to master. And I don't know if it's because of like my experience with 40k, but I actually find picking the battle tactics and getting them quite easy.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I don't know if it's become easy because like the people that I'm playing with are like kind of casual or anything like that. But my biggest struggle with Age of Sigmar is like finding ways to stop my opponent from scoring.
So you feel like it's just like an open tap. You're like, yep, cool, we've got to close that off.
Sometimes, although I had a coaching session on Friday, and then I wasn't supposed to have a game on Saturday, but the game night called and was like, "We need somebody with 1,500 points right now," and I was like, "Okay." So
get them ogres down.
I brought my ogres down, and in that game, that was the first game where I felt like, yeah, I understand how you stop your opponent from scoring. And it's a lot of screening. So like you can't really stop them too much from scoring their battle tactics unless you kind of build that into your list, like taking out some monsters or taking out some battle line or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can definitely screen them out from objectives, and I think that that's something I'm going to really focus on learning how to do better.
Well, that's really interesting because that's kind of the inverse of what 40k is at the moment, where you have this balance between units that are pretty much there solely existing to go and get your put up your banners, go and get your R&D, your engagement all fronts. We call them action monkeys to some extent. We call them, just points getters, points grabbers. And you're talking about, a lot of armies live and die by having the right amount of points getters and action monkeys to lethality and and throwaway units and etc. And you're talking about that being essentially the same thing, but for a different purpose in AOS. Whereas you need chaff, you need roadblocks, you need speed humps, you need things you need delaying actions. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome that they've got that element in there.
Yeah, I am really thoroughly enjoying Age of Sigmar, and I even found out after I started playing again that my army again is like kind of bottom tier.
Say it ain't. Ogres are never bottom tier. I don't know. They're too cool.
But I don't know. They just vibe with me again like Guard does. So I'll probably be ride or die with ogres for a while.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. With version 2 of Sigmar, it was. I think some of the perception was it would just kind of always end up kind of like a scrum in the middle of the table. Not the same with version 3. There's lots of different nuances, and they've introduced like a seasonality concept to it, to where right now you're playing in the realm of monsters, and so there are certain things that happen in that realm that kind of give you different advantages during the course of the game, things you can do, and it kind of they're framing it with a very themed seasonal approach to this, which I think
cool.
Kind of opens the door to neat things in the future.
Yeah, it is. It's coming to 40k as well, where some things are rotating out. It's pretty clever keeping things fresh, keeping things exciting.
Yeah, we saw there are actually some really neat things happen in those. I mean, it was the team tournament, so different things can happen, I'm sure in the team tournament. But we saw some really cool games happening. And if you're slightly curious, I was just checking them out. I thought they were pretty good examples of Sigmar games.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is the difference between the level of hobby between Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Age of Sigmar at Adepticon? Are they all pretty good?
I think that it is all pretty good, but Sigmar just in the old world before that but it's on a different level.
It's I blame the materials that are getting used. That's Age of Sigmar, but it's just by and large. I mean, Ogre Kingdoms is one of the oldest ranges in Age of Sigmar, and they are still they hold up extremely well. I mean, probably the old Lizard and Seraphon units and some of the Skaven and stuff are still very old, like Gutter Runners and whatnot.
Skink won the Golden Demon.
I know. It was really cool. That was another thing we need to talk about, because holy crap, walking around just seeing the Golden Demon display was a phenomenal, goosebump feeling. But by and large, the Age of Sigmar range of models just double fist dunk, break the backboard on 40k at the moment.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. I just walked through. Even the best display board I saw was the Red Keep from
Oh my gosh.
Age of Sigmar.
Oof.
Oh, was that the one with was there fire effects and stuff? Is that the one that I saw?
I don't think so.
Glowing lights? No.
I'll send a picture. It's an 8-foot tall tower.
It's freaking huge.
And not a spindly one either. It is.
No, yeah. I'm about to send this picture. This thing's insane.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's take a quick break. We'll come back to talk about some hobby stuff. We will have this segment with Stephen Valley, and then we'll come back with us. We'll talk about the Golden Demon, talk more about some Adepticon stuff. Y'all hang tight.
FTN is brought to you by Discount Games Inc. Please visit them at www.discountgamesinc.com. And don't forget to ask Jay about ways to save even more on your hobby projects.
Hey everybody, welcome to a Community Spotlight segment here on Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Stephen Valley. Man, Stephen, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Paul.
So if people aren't aware, we'll get to what you do in a second, but you really have been kind of a force of community in the hobby in local area and beyond, local Southeast, maybe, as it were.
Yeah, yes, sir. It's been a lot of fun working with a lot of cool people. If you're not having fun, what's the point, right?
Well, getting it out there, being active in groups, and even not just in these booming times where seemingly everyone is playing Warhammer 40,000, but you've been at it for quite a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe why you got started?
Yeah,
what you do today?
Today we are reaching out to Warhammer community page, and we're reaching out to a couple of local artists here to get some paint demos going. Right now we've got Stiffneck Studio scheduled to do some paint classes, and we've got a couple of local artists here who are going to be judging a paint competition for Rocky Top coming on. It's really important for me to want to do a competitive paint competition, because a lot of stuff you see by popularity contest, and that comes down to, is it a Space Marine? So, and I think really as great as it is to award best painted at a tournament, I think the painting should also have its own thing, So this is our first time. Well, it's our second year, but it's the first time in the city of Knoxville doing a competitive paint competition with a rubric where not only can you win stuff through merit, but also you can learn how to get better,
So is this something you're doing at the Rocky Top? So again, let's talk about when you got started, what got you into kind of publicizing or
sure,
word out
absolutely
for the community section.
Of course. So I've been doing it for about 3 years. It's important to have events with integrity. Knoxville doesn't have a lot of cool things going on. At least it didn't for a long time. And I go to these great events like Adepticon in Chicago, and it's like, why doesn't Knoxville get this kind of stuff? And so, well, how do you make that happen? Well, I just started kind of doing stuff, and I could either be a player that's unhappy or provide something for everyone else, and we have a lot of happy players. So I started finding pillars of the community that are promoting inclusivity, that, want, and what are they not getting? What do they need to make things happen? Whether it's somebody who's just really enthusiastic about the hobby, or it's a game store that just doesn't know how to get involved with the community or how to reach out. And so, I noticed a few problems. Lack of social media footprint for some of the smaller businesses here. And then also just, there's not, the Roman Colosseum didn't just happen, right? Event coordinators have to be a thing. So just stepping in and just making sure that whatever somebody needs, we provide those resources, whether it's just a judge for an event or terrain for a store, or just sharing a post, something as simple as that.
Yeah, it's been successful too. I mean, I know I've seen a lot of your efforts on getting the word out for either not mega tournaments all the time, but even just some local tournaments and stuff, which is cool.
Totally. It's a lot of fun, honestly. And it's always you're always trying to make the next one better, and you got to learn what's how to get better. You've always got to be evolving. And so for me, for instance, one of the things that I do is any terrain system nothing's perfect. Anything can work. But the way that you make it work is, for me, it's like tuning a guitar, right? So you're not going to be pitch perfect, but you can tune it within itself. And as long as you're communicating all of the details, and you're transparent and you schedule things in advance, there's a algorithm there to make an event functional and make sure that everyone's having a good time. And I'm confident with, the right amount of work, anyone can make anything happen.
Have you seen like attendance change in your area for events? And do you get people come up and saying, and this is more of like a template to maybe to how other people in smaller communities can help grow and using the same kind of formula that you have. Have you
Oh, totally.
heard of the success? Do people seem genuinely appreciative that you're kind of helping pound the pavement, get the word out, even if it's just in Facebook communities?
Oh, absolutely. So cross promotion is a huge thing for starters. You see a lot of people want to compete with each other, and we're all playing the same game. We're not competition, the infinite game, as it were. And the only way you lose is if you stop playing, right? There's criticism of spamming events so really what you need to do is you have to look at these as areas of opportunity to grow. If there's somebody who's running an RTT the weekend before you, give them a free ticket out as prize support to their event for your event, and vice versa. Conventions do it all the time. You do booth trades. You look for ways to, and also, even if you wanted to completely decimate your competitive event organizer or store or whatever, it's just way more benefit to just work with other people. That being said, so you schedule things in advance. I especially for a Warhammer tournament, nobody's got time to be at a tournament every weekend for 10 hours. But, you first of all, you want to make sure that there's an event schedule, so you're communicating how long the rounds are going to be. You're going to communicating how much time they have for lunch. You're taking into consideration what's near the store as far as, eating out at a restaurant, like how much time is that actually going to take how much time do the players need to get food, things like that. So communicating a clear event schedule, making sure you have, physical copies of terrain rules for the event specific, or mission packet handout, something that will make even the most complex terrain system easy to use. Also simplifying the terrain system. You don't need 1,000 keywords for one piece of terrain, and you want it to be very balanced and simple to use, because if it's simplistic, then people are going to have the ability to focus on playing the actual game rather than debating the mission packet. So those are the first things I would say. The other thing is, aside from cross promotion, scheduling in advance, and communicating a clear event schedule, would be also just giving everyone their 15 minutes of fame, right? I love posting videos and asking people what they're playing, and it's important, just as you're doing here, which I think is fantastic what you guys do for the community as well. Giving people their 15 minutes of fame to talk about. So one thing, for instance, having sometimes we prefer to have ringers for the players that are not able to play their opponent because of odd numbers. It's important to have a ringer, but at the same time,
to account for it, like in your
right.
structure. Yeah.
But Right, but at the same time, you don't always have the personnel to do it. Someone's not sometimes. Maybe do a profile of their army. Like, hey, what did you bring? Explain your list. Give them something to do while they're not playing. And also, I would say it's very important to differentiate ringer from judge. I think you got to respect each role, just as a business should have an event coordinator or a marketing agent. Each role in a tournament should be very concise. A judge should be judging. A ringer should be playing, and not for points. They should always be focused on specifically, customer engagement. They should all have specific roles, so that way there's no conflict of interest. And there's a level of integrity to the event.
So you really come about this from a total perspective, is that how to get people to the venue or to whatever it is, and then how to make the most of it once they're there to make them want to continue to be engaged with your store or your tournament or whatever.
Absolutely. And then most importantly, if something does happen, you're able to, because a lot of so as far as integrity of the event is concerned and field ads, it's going to happen. But how do you mitigate that? And how do you prevent it from going on? Because there's a certain level where like, oh, this guy cheats all the time at this event. Well, why do you continue to support that event, right? If they're not making any changes, why do you continue to go? Look for change and vote with your dollar. So, for instance, if you have a problem player, you need to record that. Whether you follow the ITC code of conduct or your own, you need to be reactive, not proactive. And when something happens, you handle it in accordance to whatever your policy is, and then you record it. And then it becomes less of a he said, she said, and there's more integrity to the event. And then there's transparency and what to expect and how to handle it moving forward. So you constant just engagement with the community and being almost, I would say, entrepreneurial about it. You want to have fun and hang out, but you also want to handle everything from a business perspective so that you can mitigate risk and protect the people you care about.
So with all this, and I think you're talking about people like Broad, like anyone that would show up and play Warhammer 40,000 someplace you're hanging out. And with that said, with all that going on, do you still find time to play? Like, how do you balance it all?
I respect competitive play quite a bit. I used to be really big into it, but you have to live and breathe it, and you have to be getting your reps in. You have to recognize your threat ranges, and you have to recognize, how to move in respondents and how to anticipate a lot of people are focused on list building and how to improve their play. But in reality, what you need to do is you need to be able to understand your army enough so that you can learn how other armies play and interact with those armies. I do not have any time for that, so I can't be a competitive player. But also, even on a casual level, I'm trying to make more of an effort to play for sure. But at the same time, if I'm answering 1,000 phone calls, or messages, as I do, it's kind of a situation where, like, I want, if you're going to play and you're going to be a tournament organizer, you need to really be it's almost very Buddhist. You need to be very in the moment, put your phone down and just focus on the game, because whether it's casual or competitive, you want to give people your time if you're choosing to engage with that. So that would be my recommendation, and that's how I try to handle things. But that being said, I don't have a lot of time to get a lot of playing in, unfortunately.
No, look, it's completely okay. I'm sure people appreciate the efforts. And then where can folks find information on what you're doing? Because you got a couple of groups that you post to regularly. Like where can people, if they're interested in knowing more, regional or just seeing examples of how it's done, if they want to replicate it in their region, where can they find it?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So my best recommendation here in general is Facebook and the algorithms are designed for cross-pollination, right? So if you have a group, and you moderate the group, don't be afraid, whether it's from your another store or out of state, don't be afraid to share that content, because it is content, right? And you get to see what they're doing and what's going on there, and and that to me, that's it's like being bringing stuff back from the Amazon back to Great Britain, right? It's like you get to bring all this cool stuff back and learn from it, and so always, if you see something cool and you like it, just share it into your group, because it's and if you feel like somebody's like, for me, identify what spam is. So spam is it's basically if it's the same post or the same content over and over, okay, that's spam. But if somebody's posting a lot of different things and providing a lot of different types of content, well, that's not spam. That just means that your community, the rest of your community, just isn't as engaged. And so instead of focusing on that one individual promoting a lot of different types of content, try to focus on how to get other people to post as well, and try to use the content that the other person's producing to motivate others to do the same. And you can do that with, I'm sure you've seen this on Facebook, where people like, hey, what are you painting this week? And comment below, stuff like that. But in general, my business page for the events that I run or advertise for, or companies that I advertise for, whether it's paint studios or whatever, that's the Play Promoter LLC. That's our main page where we run events out of. So feel free to emulate and copy. If it helps you, if there's something that you like there, feel free to do so. Just know that copy and pasting isn't enough. Anybody can copy and paste a segment of rules or rent a space or pay for insurance for a space, but you still have to do the work, because if you see like, oh, they're using 10 pieces of terrain, you still need to do the work. Does 10 pieces make sense for my table? Do my tables have the same footprints of terrain size, right? Do they still afford the same, line of coverage? Definitely try to learn and emulate other people's success, but also you have to do your own work. You have to do the work.
Well, that's great. Well, Stephen, thanks a lot for the time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I know we covered a wide range of topics. I know you're open if anyone wants to hit you up out there.
Absolutely.
So, if anyone's thinking about doing this or wanting to kind of figure out what, how to build things up in their own sections, stores, collection of stores, get events going or whatever, I think you're a great resource.
Thank you. That means a lot, Paul. And also, just don't get people out there who are trying to make cool things happen. Just don't be afraid to just do it and spend a little bit of money. Take a chance and just try to do it. Also, I want to shout out a lot of people who've helped me. Dave Ledbetter was a great guy, and he helped me out quite a bit, and he will be missed a lot. So I want to really give my condolences to his family. Amazing guy. And Daniel Husters has helped quite a bit, both in Georgia and our community out here. And a lot of just between him and Dave, I mean, they're the reason why this convention is happening at all for Rocky Top Gamecon. So thank you to you guys. Thanks for the Iron Wyvern and Level Up Games and Sci-Fi City and Team ETA, Team Battle Brothers. Thanks to those guys who have done a lot for the community, and I've learned a lot from those people.
No, the next big thing coming up is that's what I was going to close this out with was Rocky Top, and let us know where people can get info on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rocky Top GameCon will be May 27th through the 29th. We currently have 71 players signed up for the major. We have a total of 160 spots left, so that's about 89 tickets left. We have so far 50 people for Star Wars Legion. There's talk about bumping it up to 64. We're not sure yet. Then we have 27 people for Sigmar. We have over 50 different vendors for the vendor hall. They're going to bring some cool stuff, like there's a Pop Culture who's doing a giant monster movie sculpts like a zombie Godzilla. It's really cool stuff. RK Post from Wizards of the Coast is going to be there. A lot of really cool people if you're an artist, paint classes, paint competition, a lot of good connections to make for to figure out how to turn your hobby or passion into a source of income. Yeah, just it's I'm looking really forward to this because especially with COVID, you have a lot of players who are kind of lost their home, their game stores, either because they went out of business or they the stores have shorter hours, and then inversely you have a lot of new game stores, a little new businesses coming in, and basically they don't know how to reach the communities because they're new. So my hope is that this convention will answer a lot of those problems for a lot of these people. Whether it's finding a game store, finding a way to get their art out there, or reaching as a game or as a small business, reaching out to a new customer base. So that's kind of our goal.
Well, I will throw a link in the show notes for Rocky Top. Steven, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Great luck. Best of luck to the convention and all the rest of the efforts you have going on right now.
Thank you, sir. Thanks again for the opportunity, Paul. Have a great day. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Forge the Narrative.
We are back. Hope you all enjoyed that community spotlight. Getting back to our roots a little bit. We haven't done that in a little while.
It's an important function.
Yeah, and we also
narrative.
We also had some requests to where they can. We mentioned the Thursday show last week. That's something that myself and Adam Camilleri do with a gentleman by the name of Dustin Henshaw over on the Frontline Gaming Network. You can find us over there. You can also find Adam on Art of War Down Under, and now you can find me on Art of War.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. You are becoming the prolific content beast we all knew you could be. It's pretty nuts doing 3 shows a week. I've been doing it for the last almost a year with you, Paul. And I love content creation.
Yeah.
I love meeting people. And I know Red was the same. I know you, Paul, maybe not quite as many because you just didn't have the opportunity, too busy streaming and being a boss. But so many people came up and said hello to me and wanted to shake my hand and thank me for the content I make. And that was an absolutely amazing feeling. I love you all, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it really is quite humbling. I mean, a lot of people, for them to say, oh, I'm putting the face to the voice. I mean, like, I hope it wasn't a disappointment.
I felt the same way. I'm like, am I tall enough?
But it was a real pleasure meeting so many people. There was, so a couple years ago I was at Gen Con and I ran into a group that was out of Buffalo, and that, to meet with some other people from Buffalo. And then, as I'm just saying, like, in general, the connections you make and how getting around to meet all these people and even people from the same region, you mentioned, from the community outreach piece and everything. Like, I mean, there's events all over the place, and the pleasure that I have of being the U.S. Army esports team captain is I have team members all over the place, so we can attend and go to so many different meetings or game events. And so to find out, like in Buffalo, like in May, right, like on the 14th and 15th, there's it used to be that there was this I think it was like the Buffalo Beef and Wings event kind of deal. And I remember following it, and I even went as far as with some of my worthiest adversary following it. But now it's transitioned to this Rogue Gamers GT event. And so just, giving shout outs to that, being able to connect with all these different people all over the place and get that kind of information. Like, how else do you find out about some of these without connecting to so many different folks? And it's been a real pleasure, and again, I feel really honored to be able to have so many connections. It's so awesome. Bottom line,
it really is. Just enjoyed being there, hanging out. You got the nice little kind of social areas there at the Renaissance Convention Center where the convention is, and everybody passes by, so you get to see what's up. It's a bit like a family reunion, and then you meet a bunch of new people, and really enjoyed it. Thanks for everybody that did come up and say everything, and people that walked by the stream area and gave a what's up, or a nod or whatever on the way by. That was really nice. Looking forward to doing more of that this year.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's incredible. Next up for you, Paul, is Seattle. Is that right? Like live stream wise?
Yeah. You got to come check us out at the Games Workshop US Open Series. Next one is in Seattle, first weekend in May.
Superb.
Tacoma. It's like I think it's.
You should come, Tanya.
I would love to. It's just it's the hotel thing, right? Like I don't feel comfortable being alone, and it's also really just financially not feasible to not split a room with somebody. So
Sure.
you know,
We'll
if
figure something out.
if I could, I would be there in a heartbeat. But so far, nothing's panned out.
It is.
I guess I'm going to Seattle.
Hopefully, folks can put it on their schedule if they can. If it is the right thing to do. What's a lot of stuff coming up. I would imagine people are trying to figure out how to crack that Harlequin nut now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that trepidation I hear in your voice there?
It is. I usually have like a 10-minute spiel to go along with these kind of instances in the metagame, and at the moment I'm at a little bit of a loss as to how to combat the. I don't want to say Harlequin menace because I feel like it's Voidweaver menace is more to the point.
I try to think, because sometimes, I look at weapon profiles, of what gets through, like any volume of shots, maybe strength 6 or so, and what has that in the quantity that one might need outside of Eldari. And it got me kind of thinking about Grey Knights again.
Oh, good. I was about to say, you about to hit a drum bit, like a snare drum, and say Ball Predator or something.
Ball Predator. You just got me thinking about that Ball Predator. Which also happens to have a pretty good set of profiles. But there
it is.
The Talon Masters.
Yes.
Yeah. May be okay.
So there's a couple of things. So when unpacking the clown issue, the clown car issue, so to speak, because that's the archetype we're talking about from the competitive point of view. It is a bunch of clown cars, most of them with clowns in them, some of them without. And this is a combination of amalgamation of characters, Harlequin Troop, Star Weavers, and Void Weavers, and that's pretty much the entire list. It's got usually 1 or 2 Troop Masters and or Shadow Seers, depending on which one of those sliding scales you prefer. A Death Jester, sometimes a Solitaire, and then 9 Void Weavers, somewhere between 3 and 5 Star Weavers.
I like the Solitaire in there. Yeah.
I love the Solitaire and I love the Death Jester. They've done phenomenal jobs making both of those feel exciting, thematic, worth playing. Okay, so there is the predominant list that's being played is the light Seedath, which means you can only hit them on 4s. So no matter what your bliss skill is, no matter how many pluses you've got, no matter what your rule that's set, you're a Dark Reaper, you always hit on 3s, not too bad, only hit on 4s. The same caveats that would apply, say, to a transhuman-like effect, even though you might have +1 to wound or wound on 2s, you only wound on 4s because it modifies the dice roll. And so that means that things like Custodies are effectively permanently -2 to hit into these options. And in addition, most of the boats, the clown cars themselves, you don't get to roll to hit against them. So you only ever get about half the dice that you roll to hit them actually hit, no matter what buffs or anything you have to say. And then you get to the next problem, which is the fact that they have a 4+ invulnerable save or a -1 to hit. -1 to wound aura off a Shadow Seer, which you can purchase as a pivotal roll. And so you got this aura, which is most likely is going to be sticking around with the Void Weavers because they're the heavy lifting portions of this. And so you're going to hit them on 4s, can't do any better than that. And unless you're wounding them on 2s, you're going to be wounding them on 4s. And so your anti-tank, let's say a las cannon, will be hitting them on 4s, winning them on 4s, and they'll have a 4-up invulnerable save. And if they're mono Harlequins, they will have a certain number of extra re-rolls that they can apply to dice rolls. So let's say you take 5 saves and you fail 3 of them, you can use 3 of your Laughing God dice, the Blessings of Kegarak, to re-roll all 3 of those, rather than only getting 1 re-roll for using a CP. And you can use a CP in addition to those, but of course you can't re-roll a re-roll. So here's got a problem. You hit them on 4s, most likely your anti-tank weapon will wound them on 4s, and then they have a 4-up invulnerable save because they are Harlequins. So you've gone through 3 sections of halving your pool of applicable damage. So let's say, for example, you have 20 las cannons. I don't know. This is a lot of Ballistari. Let's just say we've got that many. You have 20 shots. You're going to hit with 10 of them on average. You're going to win with 5 of them on average. And then they have 4-up invulnerable saves, which in and of themselves are quite swingy. Let's say they get the worst of the average and only pass 2 4-ups of those 5. They have 3 failed saves, and then they can pick up all 1, 2, 3 of those and re-roll them. And let's say they still get the worst of that exchange. These are boats that have toughness 5 and 6 wounds of pop. So you need to roll a 6 on the first one, otherwise you will only kill one boat. And guess what? If it's a D6 damage weapon, you need to get these 1 in 6 chance.
It's like the solution is not more las cannons. The solution is a bunch of damage 1 string 6 shots.
This is correct. The other solution that I have, and it's not a great one, it's flamers, but the issue is then they have another buff that gives you minus 6-inch range to your flamers or to any weapons, any ranged weapons, matter of fact. So all of a sudden you've got a 12-inch range flamer that's 6 inches, and you're getting way too close to a bunch of clowns with a bunch of weapons that are going to mess you up. But the other one I have is because you don't. You hit so poorly into them and don't get much advantages from that. You should look to things that either auto wound on 6s, so you avoid the issues of the -1 to wound and having to have a wound roll at all, as in all you need and all you are relying on is 6s, or things that explode on 6s, e.g. Tesla-like effects. And therefore
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, you're rolling less. You're rolling, and only getting half hits, but the 6s are making up for the shortfall. And in some effects, like Tesla weapons and things that give you double exploding 6s, you can have 20 shots, you get 10 hits, but you got 3 6s. We're hitting on 2s or even 3s mathematically anyway, and so you make up a lot of shortfall.
I like that. I mean, it's just kind of anytime the new problem presents itself, I really try to focus on like how do we
proactive.
Do we have any options? I look at profiles, but unfortunately, not every army can get that kind of stuff. I think in quantity.
And so here's the problem: when you do find a solution, you'll find a solution that will enable you to kill. If let's say you've got a supercharged solution, you will find a solution that will enable you to kill 2 or 3 of these boats in a phase or in a decent enough quantity, and then they've got 9. It's the same issue that I remember.
6 more. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. It's the same issue we had with the Castellan in mid 8th edition. You could find a solution that would kill the Castellan in 2 turns, but the things that kill the Castellan wouldn't survive the 2 turns needed to do the job. And so you might have something that'll go and it'll roll over 3 Void Weavers, but then die to the remaining 6 and not be around to do it again.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, it's some folks got to wiggle around with right now, but I would definitely, because it's going to be out there.
Mm-hmm. And sorry for the real dense chat. Hopefully that made sense to people.
No, of course. I'm sure everybody got all that.
Replay it half speed.
Yeah. No, it laid out what. Yeah, basically the grimness that folks are running up against.
And to be honest, I don't mind Harlequins not so much having their day in the sun, but if Harlequins are the best army out there, I can live with that. It's relatively few data sheets. It's still quite a quick and interesting army for most people to play. I hope, even though it is it's just kind of a shooting army, unfortunately. But it's still Harlequins. It's still pretty exciting. It's still got a bunch of rules. They've got a bunch of janky and awesome and cute and cool and cute stuff they can do. It's not like like AdMech was, say, 9 months ago when it was in there. It was in the unrefined, unnerfed AdMech when it was just you went first, and I can't hide. I can only hide half my army. I guess I shouldn't have bothered deploying the half of the army I can't hide. And they were like, yes, you shouldn't have. Just pick them up now. So save us the time in the dice rolls.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, well, look, it's certainly out there. I would imagine some people's minds. And so you're going to have to prepare for it in the best way you can. And I think just have high volume shots with a decent strength.
And the one you said, Grey Knights, dude, Grey Knights, they have those profiles. They have the silencers, they have the side cannons, they have all sorts. They have the mortal wounds as well, which can actually be a decent option because it gets around the minus 6-inch range. Actually, does it?
I think the mortal wounds do. Yeah,
range says minus 6 inches to all bodies, just shooting. Yeah, I would have thought mortal wounds and smites would get around it, but I'm prepared to be wrong. It's a crazy rule.
You know what's funny? When you're like, oh, you can't hit on anything better than a 4. I'm like, play Imperial Guard.
You play Orcs and Imperial Guard. You're like, 4s is a good time.
Yeah. This is great.
4s is the dream, baby.
I'm just gonna roll up like 9 Hellhounds. Let's go.
Speaking of the Harlequin menace, in White Dwarf 474, they actually have a tutorial of the Harlequin color scheme that I've been thinking about giving a shot. And that's I think it's this. Well, in the previous times before they had this Sedeths is the Silent Shroud, the kind of orange and cream ones.
Cool.
Yeah, they give you a step-by-step of how to do a battle ready versus parade ready.
Nice. I do like that they're doing that distinction now as well, because there are different skill sets, different people want different things out of their painting.
I just want to get mine done.
Yeah, done is good.
Exactly right.
If
you get it done to a standard of which you're happy, as it takes. Yeah, exactly right. But then is the segue. Some of the golden demon stuff that I saw, I would hazard there was like 100, like just in one cabinet with like 9 miniatures in it. You could be like, well, there's just a couple of 100 hours of like pure artistry in pure poetry in motion. So many gorgeous paint jobs. I was dumbfounded.
People should definitely go check them out on the Warhammer community site and the various artist Instagrams and that kind of stuff. Because I mean, heck, even spectacular examples in the Youngbloods, and stuff too. That's it's great stuff. And looking around, like I walked around the stuff several times, and it's like super clear that there's artistry involved that my naked eyes can't discern. This just looks good to me. Until you get to like some of the ones that were that the painters and the judges had picked out, and you start looking at them, and I'm like, and even the one that won is like, I can look into the eyes of this skink. I know a little bit about this skink's home life. Yeah, I was able to relate. And when people say that a model is just perfect, if you're looking for basically a perfect example, look no further than what won the Slayer Sword.
I couldn't agree more, mate. It's weird to look at a model and not be able to notice a single brushstroke, and then to have an entire cabinet, a couple of dozen such models where you don't like. You couldn't even tell they were painted. They were just like they were born like that. They just exist in this form.
That is yeah. I think you're I think you're exactly right.
It just transcends. It's so amazing. So freaking happy GW are doing it.
Yeah, you tell people really jazzed, and it was like even the line for the award ceremony was like people were wanting to see what was up. And
I wanted to see one.
Yeah, just check it out, and just well deserved. It was so cool being there and just to kind of see some of those models up close. Yeah, there was a brilliant diorama between Sanguinius and Carbunda.
It was supposed to be Carbunda, yeah, but the model wasn't out with the time. I suppose the artist was.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, sorry, Sanguinius versus a Bloodthirster.
I think that it could have easily been their rendition of Carbunda.
There was a Mephiston. There was plenty of Blood Angel.
It was an Inquisition sized Mephiston. It was a big boy.
Yeah, he was a foot tall or whatever. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I mean, just people showing out, and a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I'm sure they'll do it again. And so, if folks are aspiring to do it, I definitely think it's the right time to start.
Me too. Never too late to learn a new skill, especially painting.
Well, I don't mean necessarily just pick up painting. Although, look, maybe it is. I think the gentleman that won had only been painting for a couple of years.
That's infuriating. Yeah. Don't tell me that.
But don't let that stop you. But really, with like when you talk to some of the artists, so one of the things they say is like that it just takes time, and no time like the present to get started if you want to try to get an entry into one of these things.
Yeah, I even had a couple of mates who had a couple of entries. It was interesting. This one was especially interesting, I think, because there was 2 years of lead up to it where people couldn't submit anything to anything. And so I think really meant there was a lot of extra on some of these. I had so one of the model ranges that I found hard to get excited for past like very good but basic paint schemes was some of the Hobbit and Lord of the Ring miniatures. Mm-hmm. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenally amazing, but I found them a bit small for the pure and like beautiful fine detail work, and I was well and truly shut up. Like just shut up, Adam. That is a bad take. That is the fact totally incorrect, because there was a whole cabinet of Lord of the Rings miniatures, and they were all jaw dropping. There was a Witch King of Angmar that I thought was
it was really
yeah?
good. Man,
Oh.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
oh man, oh geez, he was tiny and perfect and beautiful, and loved it.
Yeah. Kind of going back to that battle ready versus parade ready standard. In White Dwarf, it always feels like they were giving you kind of different steps than maybe what you'd see on the videos sometimes. But I like that there's just all these different ways to come about this stuff, and for them to spell it out in this good detail. It was kind of a joy to open up White Dwarf 474 and see this tutorial. Like, that's exactly what I want to do. But like we always say, is that sometimes you just need to find a tutorial for the color you want, not necessarily the model you want.
Yep.
So there's value in these things, even if it's not the exact. Kind of lucked out here, with the exact full color scheme. But this could easily just be a tutorial on how to get cream colored armor or clothing or whatever, and go from there.
Yeah, spot on.
Anybody work on anything?
Oh man, so I mean that takes me, especially after the Golden Demon piece and this weekend with Age of Sigmar. So like, first of all, I had a great run with the Tanith. I enjoyed every game I had. I hope I gave everyone a great game, because at least in the singles, I went 1-3, and I had probably one of the best times I've had in a long while playing 40k, and it was every game that I lost. 3 of those were within 10 points each game, and so it was pretty close, and I had a blast, and it was a lot of fun. And Gonskos, I really feel like were the characters that helped make it, and the people I was playing with, it was really, really great games. But anyways, I'm getting to this with the team tournament, being able to play guard. I brought a shadow sword. It was silly.
Yeah.
I on stream watched my shadow sword blow up and then deal 6 wounds to my partner's Morgan Vol. It was just awesome. It was a blast. Just all over the place. And so I had such a great time. But I keep seeing, we were talking about it, Age of Sigmar, and keep seeing the range of models that were being painted at the Golden Demon. And I have all this stuff sitting in front of me. I'm looking at the underworld vampires. I'm looking at all of these.
I thought you were going to say, I'm looking at these paint pots and I'm waiting for them to just jump on the miniature.
Yeah, I wish. I wish
and...
they'd do that. No, it's not Fantasia here. I'm going to have to do that myself. But I do have this. I have 2 Curse City boxes sitting here that I want to use those models for. And so I'm really excited to get into Age of Sigmar. I'm really looking forward to it. And with the way that the team tournament was for Age of Sigmar as well at Adepticon, I feel like there's something for me to build into. And so I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of talk from different people about different narrative events and everything. And I can only imagine, with the way and the aesthetic that Age of Sigmar has, what some of their narrative events could be like. So it's that I'm by no means shelving the Tanith. I am at a pretty good spot. I felt really good at bringing in the Scions that I did. I had a Scion detachment with 18 Meltas, which was just, it was so much fun. But at the same time, I really do want to pick up this Age of Sigmar deal and get into it. So I look forward to getting into that and to talking about it more with you. With the team here.
Dude, it's fun. When next time you come through Georgia, I'll throw the Sylvaneth on the table.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. It is. So it is. It's actually. The complexity. What I like about Sigmar and Tanya. Maybe if you feel this way or don't feel this way, let us know. But I think the complexity is in different spots. You're not necessarily picking stratagems or anything to use, but you still have to think and make some decisions about stuff like monstrous rampages when you enable them, what your battle tactics that you pick each round, the sequencing of command abilities and that kind of stuff.
It is complex. It's nowhere near as intimidating for some reason as Warhammer 40k, but I would agree with the sequencing. Like, you have to get the sequencing correct. You have to make sure you've got a plan for the next round. The other thing too is, like, Alpha Strike is a little bit harder to do, I think, in Age of Sigmar because if you commit too hard, you could get double turned and then you could be left in like a really bad spot. So, like in my ogre army, I have like a juiced up Frostlord on Stonehorn because it's like the one good unit in the entire battle tome. And he's like 430 points. So he's a big chunk of my army. And in a lot of cases, I don't just want to run him up the board into their lines on the first turn, even though I can. Right? He moves super fast and you can reroll charges and all of this stuff. And, you know, I think that it takes planning, but I would agree. It's planning in maybe different ways.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to tackle. That the fact that you're not having to necessarily you have to order your turn and you have to order your game, and then there's the element of that you may lose priority, and the double turn, I used air quotes there, is an interesting threat because you sometimes have to show restraint, but there's functions in the game that I think do a fairly decent job of mitigating that double turn.
I would agree with that as well. Yeah. There's the thing that I really like about Age of Sigmar as well is that you're allowed to react, right? Like the hero phase doesn't belong to just one player, right? In each player's hero phase, each player can do stuff. You know, like you're doing things at the same time. You know, you may know that this is the turn that your opponent is going to come at you, so you may choose to finest hour one of your heroes or something like that. It's the hero phase is a lot more dynamic in Age of Sigmar, and I really, really enjoy that.
And Kragnos is a beast.
So my local area is like we're all sort of learning at the same time, and I would feel really bad, I think, taking Kragnos, but I might to hop on. Well, and do you know why he's so bad in Beastclaw Raiders?
Oh,
well,
no, tell me.
Good. So the Beastclaw Raiders, well, all ogres, but in particular the Beastclaw Raider monsters, when they get a charge, whatever the unmodified charge roll is, that's how many dice you get to roll to do mortal wounds to a unit that you charged. And Kragnos allows them to roll 3 dice 6 on the charge. So you roll, if you rolled, I don't know, like a 12 on your charge, you just pick up 12 dice and every 4+ is a mortal wound.
Yeesh.
It's pretty nasty, but again, these units are huge, and you've got like all your eggs in these like few baskets.
You got Kragnos and 2 Stonehorns, and you have almost 1,000 points right there.
No, Kragnos is like 750 points.
You have almost 1,500 points right there.
2 Frostlords on Stonehorn are like 430 points each.
So I played in like one big Age of Sigmar first edition tournament, which I won, by the way. Well, I got best general at. And one of the memories I've got is the triple Stonehorning Nagash straight off the table, turn 1. Just you got a Nagash? 3 Stonehorns to the teeth. See you, mate.
That is rough.
Oh man,
what was it going to do? It was unrestricted summoning. That dude was like going to double his army in turn 1.
My husband was so upset because I like ran my Stonehorn into his Great Unclean One, and like I didn't even get to use all of the Frostlord's attacks. It was just like Great Unclean One deleted.
I knew what it did.
Yeah.
You know, I did have to chew through a lot of Plague Bears to get at it. So, you know.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much our show for this week. I know it's a bit of a mixed bag, but we're all kind of riding that high, coming off conventions and starting new projects. And
is everyone else like me in that like I'm never more hyped for events than directly after an event?
100%.
It's just a drug.
Already building models still. I mean, I don't know when there's a time that I'm not building models really, but I feel like I'm building with a heavy purpose.
Nice. Yeah, I am as well. I'm about to buy and build a bunch of new stuff for my Dark Angels.
Hopefully it's assault cannons to take out this Harlequin menace.
Yeah, do it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Please check out Steven's stuff from the middle part of the segment. Please don't forget to leave us some 5-star reviews. Maybe get a T-shirt or something. It'd be great. And was it?
It's my T-shirt, Paul.
Dang.
You gotta click on the link, man.
Yeah, click on the link. Get the app, Adam. Maybe you'll get a T-shirt if you just get the app. Whatever. Have a nice night, everybody. Adam, get the app.
We will see y'all next week.
You're lucky I love you.
The Sept tenets demand you tune in next week. For the greater good, of course.